What's up, Rockstars? In today's video, I have a whole bunch of really big news to tell you guys. I have some $1 million campaigns we're going to be looking at. I have some controversies. I have some good talking points, especially about Resin and PvC miniatures and expectations and all that jazz. So stay tuned for all of that. Now, as always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members at the beginning of the video, because I want to give them thanks and I don't want people to skip it like at the end and not even see it or anything like that. Now, as always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their financial support that I can... Now, as always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their financial support that I'm able to run this independent channel so that I can give you my honest opinion and not my wallet's opinion. This is because I don't take any money from any game development company ever. So if you appreciate that level of honesty and you can give, there's a link down below to that, of course. If not, though, that's fine. A like or comment on the video helps a ton and I greatly appreciate it. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more coverage just like this, or reviews or unboxings or talking points or anything else I happen to post, I suppose. Post all the time, at least twice a week, so hopefully you can appreciate that as well. If I sound a little not myself, I don't really feel myself like normally. I'm a little down today. I promise you guys to bring honesty, and part of that honesty means not being fake YouTube happy. If you don't know what fake YouTube happy is, look at any family vlog channel and you'll see fake YouTube happy. I don't know, I've been kind of down in the dumps for a few days now, and, I don't know, it just, I mean, I'm not going to get into it here, I guess, but sometimes I guess life can feel a little unfulfilling and a little too much, right? And I guess I'll probably just summarize it that way, but I'm alright, I'm just blah, you know, just not super excited about much, but I imagine Archon Studios is, because they have over $1 million on Dungeons & Lasers 3rd edition, which is awesome. They have a ton of stuff here. I'm going to talk about this campaign a little bit because I want to show why it made $1 million. I want to talk about why it made $1 million, and I'll reference back to it in something else we're going to cover here. So made over $1 million. That's great, right? That's fantastic. That's very good. 5,370 backers. If we look at their previous stuff, Dungeons & Lasers 2nd edition was the one previous by 6,800, almost the exact same. And then the first Dungeons & Lasers was 3,980. So, and this still has 5 days to go. I'm sure in the second, the last 2 days it'll probably jump up as well, but the point is that they're doing better, just as good or better, right? Which is awesome every time they come out. And this is the 3rd time they've done it, and they've delivered the other 2. And what that really shows is that they've built not only confidence as a company and as a product, but the word of mouth and the hype and it's just really, really good to do that, right? Anytime you can actually deliver and do what you say you're going to do, and people like what you did because you did a good job at it, and you said, hey, here's more, and they say, yes, please, you're in a very good space, right? It means you have a product people like, it means you're running a company that people can trust, and it means that everybody's happy and you're making lots of money as a business. I mean, there's no real ifs, ands, or buts about it. They made $1 million. That's great. Not including, of course, Pledge Manager and all that other crap. And again, they just ran 2.0 and they delivered it within months. That's kind of the whole point. In fact, there's more here, but it's not just that. It's they're very competent right now about what they're doing, and it's so funny. This is Archon, right? Because I don't know if you guys recall, but I used to have to, like back in the Vanguard days, right? I used to have to say like, hey, you got to give a company a chance, and they did not start out well. But they are just firing on all cylinders now and really showing other people how it's done. And it's actually kind of impressive. So right off the bat, right, they got obviously value up front. up front and center in your face with their value, right? So look at all the backers that trust us. This is our 3rd edition too, and we have this many backers. Look how many miniatures you're going to get. Look how much we funded, right? All that right up here. I don't have to click the video, right? I literally haven't even watched the video. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. Then, bam, first thing, look at this. It shows exactly what's going on right now. Right now, there's a vote in the comments to build the Woodhaven Fountain. You can do a Cherub or Classic or an Old God one. And they also just unlocked Pepe the Giant. I don't have to go look. It's right there, right up front. This is, look what you've unlocked so far. And when you have this much junk, and it doesn't have to be minis, right? I mean, heck, half this crap is drawings, right? It could be card upgrades. It could be box art. It could be alternated art. It could be signed. It doesn't matter. Just put whatever it is. Bam, right up here. I don't have to go scrolling for a million years. I'm going to scroll for a million years to show you guys, but it's right up here. Already, just from this little bit, I have so much information. That's really, really good. Okay? Then it talks about the highlights. It's not going to go deep into some story or some joke like that. It's like, hey, look, this is all about this DMing and tabletop gameplay and do all the, I mean, it's just talking about it and then the basic system and how it works. And then, modular, affordable, customizable. They're really putting high level stuff here, which is great, right? Here's why it's so awesome. All this section is saying, hey, here's why it's so great. Here's why 5,100 people are backing. Here's why we're at 1 million funded. Here's why you should be excited about those 110 minis, because it's affordable. It's good prices. You'll see that soon. It has high quality. Like, they are just doing so good on that. And there's movement on the page, which is super helpful on that. Not only do they have exciting kind of art and stuff like that, but there is a little bit of movement going on too. You can see this changing here as well. That really helps kind of change things up. I don't know what I just did. The headers, by the way, with the color and all that, like, they're very good at separating what they're saying and different things. Again, they're showing value right here. Look, I bought one set plus the stretch goals, and look at everything you can do with that, right? Bam, there you go. That's exactly kind of what this is. And then, of course, this rapid delivery thing is really cool too. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But anyway, no, they just did really, really good. And they're marking everything clearly on what's new. And all that, but the sewer core set, which, look, you can get new colors now. You can get green. You can get that. This is the kind I had. You can get blue and you can get white, or transparent, I guess. So really, really cool. Rapid delivery, which means they'll ship it like within months. Which is really, really cool. Anyway, so it's showing everything you get there, right? And then showing kind of an image of it kind of all done up, right? With fungus going on and rubble and, a treasure chest and all sorts of stuff, right? Lava caverns, freaking sweet. Again, you can pick the colors. Again, it's very obvious what they're showing. It's very obvious when it's Kickstarter exclusive. They did a really good job. And see, this doesn't have the Kickstarter exclusive, so it's not. You could get this Royal Castle, but again, this is new. And they have the new stuff, again, right up front. Wooden Cottage, new. The two-door mansion, new. Look at all this. You get the Stone Tower, new. And it even shows, hey, look, you can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. You get the city streets, new. And again, it's very obvious what you get here, right? It's not the buildings, it's this. Roof set, new. And then we go into the fantasy core set, and now we have this rapid delivery stuff here and talks about all the parts and clearly labels what you get. So even though it says 304, you know that 128 of those are pins, right? But it's right here. So as long as it's literally the same image, which I think is very helpful on that. And then again, it shows it all done up, what you can do with it. Lots of just really well laid out stuff there. The Townsfolk starter set, which is new. I'm surprised this is so low. I think it's just because they wanted the rooms and then the Townsfolk separate. And I can understand, especially because this is getting large because of all the stretch goals. Because you have the washerwoman, the child with a cape, and the elf wizard, and the mill dwarf, and the night lady, and the beggar, and the peddler, and the rat folk, and the Tommy the ghost, and the snake charmer, and the dwarf woman, and everybody in between. So a ton of people there, obviously. Then you have the 5e campaign that's apparently by Ben Alsop, and so he's doing that thing, and you're unlocking different parts, different sections too, which is cool. And then they get into the dragons. Again, the fact that their dragons are this far down is actually kind of impressive. Most people would put that way up, but it's because there's so much other stuff people are here for. That being said, these look freaking sweet. They really do. Again, all rapid delivery, which is also nice. You don't have to wait for years. And then, of course, reviews. This is what our backers say about Dungeons and Lasers, and it goes through different stuff. And Donna is again just outdoing everybody when it comes to what she's building. It's ridiculous. So I mean, it's not just her, but Yeah, and I feel bad then for what I did, right? I struggled to put together a sewer set, and we got people over here doing this junk anyway. Lots of stuff there, and then of course now they get into the pledges. That's a lot of content. But the pledges are done pretty well as well. It's pretty obvious what you get to do, and you get to customize it well, and they explain it well from what it looks like, which is great. And it really gives you a sense of, hey, how much crap do you want? How much table space do you need to take up? And then you can figure out what you get for the table space as you can. Because again, all these add-ons, like you can get these stairs, or these walls, or this little market, or this starter set, or maybe you just want Nubble. Well, here he is there. Or maybe you want street lamps because street lamp sounds awesome. Or maybe you want the balustrades, the fencing. I don't know. Or the battlement sets. I mean, again, there's a ton of stuff. It's ridiculous. But again, this is the 3rd edition. They've been building on this for a while. Then they're finally in stretch goals, but I didn't have to scroll all the way. I already saw them up there. Now, they're not in reverse order, so it is definitely, but that's because, again, it's up there, so it doesn't matter. Okay, how long do I have to go to get this? But you can see all the Headless Horseman and the Giant Toad and the actual, like, entrance to its stuff and the Hydra Quest Market Mayhem thing going on here where he's a Sea Elemental and a Mass Knight and all this stuff you actually get to see, whereas at the top level when you really didn't, right? So you're getting a Djinn and you're going to get this, Tim on the Tevil. It's a devil, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, some good stuff here. A lot of stuff, and it keeps going. Another smart thing they did, and they did this at the very beginning, is they had that $1 million stretch goal, and we've been building towards it, right? So right now we're doing the fountain, and they're figuring out, okay, what's the fountain going to be for the community vote? But again, it's ahead too, right? So by the time we get to there, it's already done, because we're going to get the Necromancer set first, and then we're going to get the Troll even before that. So there's a lot of different steps into there, right? But the fact that they had that ultimate goal kind of set, the fact that they had the rapid delivery, the fact that they weigh up on, they have the well shown everything, right? It's just, they did a great job on this. They did a great job on the layout. They just check mark on all of it. Definitely know what they're doing here, and I think that's awesome. I really do. So I like to see a campaign that just has a whole bunch of people that are happy to spend the money and excited about the product. Why can't we just do that more often? I don't know. Moving on. Dark Rituals. It's at 63,000. It's just a straight reprint. It says soundtrack. It's what they do because you have to offer something new on Kickstarter. It's just a hoop they're jumping through. It's just Dark Rituals. I don't think there's anything new besides the soundtrack, and they don't even put a lot of, it's just the same images. It's threw it up there. If you want to, go ahead and get it. I've played one game of it. The game I played was okay, so I want to play more of it. I just haven't been able to. I've been swamped. I'm filming this at 2 a.m. right now because that's when I finally have a chance to do it. I've been reading a rule book, been printing out a rule book. I've been working until 7. I don't know. I didn't get home until like 7, and then my wife was out, so I had to kind of watch the kids a little bit, and so watch the kids, and then of course then I had to have dinner and spent some time with my wife, and now I'm here filming this. It's just crazy time. Anyway, if you want it, go ahead and grab it. It's freaking sweet. Like, it's a cool looking game, and I'm excited to play more. I really am. So I don't want to not sell it, but I've also only played a game of it, and I apologize for that. I wanted to have a review for that. I want to have a review for Wild Ascent. I want to have a review for Eldfall. I'm working on it. I'm doing what I can. I'm doing to my limit. I'm working on it. Okay, next up we have Siege the board game. Sorry, I like it how they even word that. This is the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six Siege board game from Mythic Games. This is going to be huge. There's already 3,200 followers. It's going to be big. It's official with Ubisoft and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of excited to see how they do any kind of destructible terrain and stuff like that. I do like kind of skirmish games and whatnot. I'm a fan of video games. You guys all know that. And so definitely interested to see what this ends up being, how it ends up doing. Definitely interested. That's for sure. They did a good job with Bard's Song by the looks of it. I'm excited for that game a lot. And so hopefully they do good on this one too. It's nice to have a company doing video game board games that actually look good and not kind of garbage. Like I felt, Horizon kind of looked, and Devil May Cry and all those other ones that make me kind of cry, or it's not some mobile game stuff, right? Like this is a video game now made a board game, and here's like a lot of effort put into it, and I like seeing that. Next up, we have Eldfall Chronicles. Again, I will be trying to get a review. This launches Tuesday. I don't know when you're watching this. I'm filming this, I guess, technically Friday morning. But I will be pushing out a review. I will try my best to get it day one. I will do what I can. Hopefully that's Tuesday's video. So if you want to see a review of Eldfall Chronicles from me, check the channel out again on Tuesday, and you'll either see me very sad or you'll see me with a review of Eldfall Chronicles. We'll see. My anniversary is technically today, by the way, 11 years. And so thank you. So I don't know exactly how much time I'll be able to spend on this stuff anyway. Like I don't even, anyway, it's too much going on. Earth Under Siege Flashpoint. I think they tried to contact me. I'm behind by about 80 emails, so I'm working on it. I spent 2.5 hours on email today, because it was more. A lot of that's just reading updates for you guys so I can do stuff like this. We're about to get into all the updates. I'm about to talk to you guys about, like, here's some stuff that's coming up, or pledge managers and whatnot. We're going to do that. And all that takes time. And I need to know what's going on too. I need to know what pledge managers are doing. I need to do another video, by the way, where I spend hundreds of dollars and you guys watch me do it. That'll be coming up here soon. It was going to be today's, but looking through all this, I was like, there's a lot of stuff I need to cover. So that's what we're doing. Anyway, this looks kind of cool. They're on Facebook a lot. They're very active. I don't know too much about it. I just kind of know what it looks like, but it looks kind of interesting. Definitely a different sci-fi that I'm used to. And that's like in a good way. Like I like it. Sounds cool. And sci-fi dungeon crawler. Okay. Sign me up. All I have that's sci-fi really is Zombicide Invader, if you can see that, which I like. That's enjoyable. And Starcadia Quest, which I think I have demoted to the closet outside of this room because it's crap. So I wasn't happy with that. And I don't think I have any other sci-fi. What's I gonna do? I didn't get Signed Tempor. It was expensive. Too late back it anyway. Hated Nemesis. Sold that. I think that's it. So, yeah. I could use some more sci-fi in my life. Chronicle X. I should have remembered that. Chronicle X. Getting Wave 2 here soon, I hope. Moving on. This is actually going to be YouTube. This is... Stop auto-playing. The Witcher Old World. This is their solo and co-op expansion. I'm not going to play the video just as an FYI. I'll link down to it. That's fine in case you're one of the non-16,500 people that have watched it. But they will be having a solo and a co-op thing. I know a lot of people were kind of hemming and hawing about it being competitive. Well, there's an expansion to make it solo and co-op. Now, whether that's a separate thing or not, again, I haven't even watched the video. I apologize. I didn't spend another 8 minutes. 8 minutes. I should have spent 8 minutes to watch this. I didn't. We'll find out together. Maybe I'll put it in a comment. I don't know. I'll let you know. Again, I'm doing a review of The Witcher. Another thing I signed up for. So I'll let you guys know, depending on the scope of that prototype, what I think. I'll let you know what I think of the game anyway. How about that? Okay, next up, Renegade. I know a lot of you guys have been looking at them. They are making a Transformers deck building game. It will be competitive. It will be co-op. It's 1 to 4 players. That's about all we know. It'll be deck building. Officially sanctioned Transformers. I need some minis. I need some Transformer minis. Give me Transformer minis. They don't have to transform, by the way. I just want to paint Optimus Prime. And everybody else. Definitely. Yeah, that needs to happen. And G1 preferably, but I would accept expansions all the way. Like give me some Beast Wars. Let's get Rhinox in here. I don't care. It just a Rat Trap. Let me paint Rat Trap. Anyway, Starscream. I don't care who. Just I need that. Give me that. All right, moving on. Wild Ascent. This is going to be fun. This was like a simple update, right? It's like, oh, look, hey, here's Wild Assent. We're sending this out to you guys. Look at that. Look at that. Here's some info on Unicast, and here's some errata on the rules. And then here's some nice videos. And then, oh, they talked about their Levon Rising campaign launch. Well, let's have some comments. Okay, so there's a lot of upsetness going on. Well, okay, so there's a subset. How many comments are there? Does it show a comment count? Can I see how many people have commented? No, that would be too easy. Anyway, obviously a subset of the thousands of people that backed them, but that's also a subset of people that actually go on there to complain versus just complain in person or whatever too. So like there's subsets within subsets, and whatever, the like both subsets are subsetted, or well, it's a small portion of people here. But that anyway. So what is the issue? What's the issue? Well, first of all, they are launching on June 29th is when they said that they were going to launch. And they said it's likely sooner than when folks expect, want, etc. Now, June 29th is like over a month away. But the problem is like, when is delivery done, right? So delivery expands for quite some time. And then it's, okay, do you deliver and then instantly from the last one that's sent, which God knows when that is, right? I'm sure it's lagging. Because then it was the people, hey, I didn't get my pledge. Okay, you go talk to Quartermaster Logistics or whoever we're using, all that kind of junk. Or I didn't get all my items. To then, how long do you let them play it before you... So, anyway, so what they're saying is, you know what? We're going to put it like over a month out. It's like a month and a half out. That's when we'll launch it. At that point, quite a few people have it. Some people don't. Some people played it. Some people don't. It's whatever. But I think I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So what they're doing, by the way, is you are getting about $109 off if you get the new one. The new one will be about $120, and you are getting a 50% discount on the core game. And the core game of the 120 includes all of the original stretch goals and the Shadow of the Silverstream expansion. So it's pretty much the all-in of the previous one, but now just kind of core box. It's like, hey, here's the game. Okay, so you're getting that for about $100. But it's the game you have. So why would you get that? Right? Because $100 is still plus shipping. It's still $100 plus shipping for something you didn't. And then the expansion is going to be about $100 as well. So, why would you get that? Well, because they are changing the scale and they're changing some of the sculpts. Why are they doing that? They went through Archon, which you recall, these guys, right? Back when they did, gosh, where was I? The Resin Unicast, they don't tend to do that too much anymore, but Archon was really the one that pretty much sculpted them, and they were at a smaller scale as well because it was resin, so it was more expensive. And now that they're changing manufacturers, obviously Archon is the only one that does the Unicast. They're not really going to do resin minis otherwise. So they're going to take the opportunity to scale it up to match Storm Thunder, and most other games. The Wild Assent minis are smaller. And not like Joan of Arc small, calm down, but smaller. And also then re-sculpt them, right? So he's getting some updates there, but otherwise fairly the same. He's getting squeezed in there. That, again, a lot of that. But then he's also getting like a new base. And it looks like his feet are much larger, right? She's getting a lot more character there, obviously. And again, the base is changing a little bit. So they're kind of just redoing the minis. Think of it kind of like when Tanares did it, right? Where Tanares did the updated minis. Okay. But to get the updated minis, it costs you $100. It's kind of weird because if you just give them like a character pack, I guess, like you'd have to store them all. That's a lot of minis too. Like would they come in their own box, or would you give them a core box without the cards in it? I guess, I don't know. It gets to the point where it's like, we may as well just get the whole game again, which is, I think, what they're looking at here. So let's discuss. I can understand, I guess, launching on the 29th. Ideally, would it be later? Yes. ideally, would they not be so quick to launch campaigns? They were quick to do it on Storm Thunder, they're quick to do it here. God, yes. Are they a little spammy in their campaigns? Yes. Are they alone in that? No. Most of the campaigns I cover here are from pretty spammy companies, right? I was just looking at Six of Siege, and while Mythic Games has gone a lot better. Technically, they have multiple out, right? They're a company that's producing games, and come on, same thing, right? Like they launch some and they deliver some. They always have a few out there in limbo, right? Does it help that this was announced right around the time that Storm Thunder was delayed till 2022? Of course not. No, that did not help. And the whole skill thing sucks too. It's a sucky situation to be in. I appreciate them going with Wild Assent and going with something that is reviewing well and that people that do have it seem to like, and again not doing those one-offs, not just doing there you go, have the game and then have fun. Another thing I will say, okay, so I never said this before, but I sent out my prototypes right from the giveaway, and my patrons did this like surprise kind of GoFundMe campaign at the end of the year to help raise some money for the channel and for me, and I gave away some of my prototypes, right? Because I thought that'd be kind of cool. Most people don't ever get a prototype, and so you get this prototype, and you're like, I have this, and maybe 3 other people in the world have this. Like, that seems really cool, right? It is really cool. And I signed it and everything like that. One of the people sent it back to me and said that they weren't really happy with it, because they felt that they could have put that money that they kind of supported me with and actually just went and bought the game on Kickstarter and gotten like stretch goals and stuff like that. And I think it's important to realize that there is a benefit to being able to play before anybody else. So every original backer of Wild Assent, even if the campaign launches, they ain't delivering this Levon Rising until at least a year out, right? And that means that even if you got it right before, you have now played Wild Assent and enjoyed Wild Assent and hopefully loved Wild Assent a year before any other person that comes in after the fact. Coming from video games, coming from technology space and stuff like that, where you always have early adopters fee is what they call it, right? Where it's like, if you get the first version, oftentimes you pay more, oftentimes it's worse, but you got it before everybody else, right? Whether it's the HoloLens or Google Glass or a cell phone or, whatever, right? It's not like the people that buy the iPhone this year are going to be upset that the iPhone next year is better, right? Well, because they had this phone for a whole year, right? But before the other people who didn't have it that year, right? I mean, that's just kind of, and things constantly move. So I have all of this in my head, right? Where it's like, this is kind of a weird situation where it seems in the board game Kickstarter space, it's assumed that early adopters get benefit instead of that fee, and the benefit of being able to enjoy a game early is kind of a moot point. It's kind of nobody cares. And I think we should care. I'm not saying that they're perfect. I'm not saying that. I guess what I'm saying is that we should realize that if we have a game that we think is great and we have it sooner than anybody else that is coming afterwards, that there is value in that. And again, like the whole Kickstarter thing of making things possible, especially Wild Assent being their first one, this company wouldn't be around if you didn't support them for Wild Assent. And part of that goes to that too, right? So anyway, long story short, I'm not super upset about it. I think it's a crappy situation. I think I said this before too, right? Like it sucks. It sucks that they have to get the scale larger. I get why they do. In PVC, it would just be too small. It'd be crappy. And they don't want crappy minis. They're mini people. They understand minis. That's why the Storm Thunder minis look so freaking good. That's why they went with the Resin for their first game. So, like, they want their minis to look good. And I understand that too. And I think they want future backers, their future customers, that they care about just as much as all their customers, ideally. All their customers are, it's not like we care about you less because you weren't here first, right? Like, you don't want a company that runs that way, right? You want a company that, whether I discover them now or whether I happen to discover them later, they still care about the product I get And so they want to make the best product possible. So I get it. I get it. It sucks. Yes, it does. It always sucks when you get something and you see somebody else get something at least a year later, if not more. Probably, again, things delay a year and a half, 2 years later than you, that has a slightly better thing. But that happens every time you buy a cell phone. It happens every time you buy a game console or a TV. I spent $700 on my flat screen 32-inch TV, the first one I ever got. But I had a flat screen 32-inch TV, flat screen, things like that thick, but flat screen, like before all my friends, before anybody else in my family, and I thought I was the coolest freaking dude ever. Like, I was a young guy, and it's my first TV I actually even bought for myself, and I paid $700 for that. Am I upset now when I see that I can buy a 65-inch OLED flat screen TV for $700 on sale, or that there's some Black Friday sale, or people are getting better product for less later on? Well, I enjoyed that flat screen TV long before they were able to get that, and that's some value to me. And I understood early on it's more expensive. It just is. So I'm moving on from now. That's just my 2 cents. I get it. It sucks. But I also understand always moving forward, always improving. I would hate if they didn't renew, like I'm buying Warhammer minis, and sooner or later those are going to be old crappy Warhammer models because the new ones look way better, and maybe they're even cheaper. Maybe you get more of them. But I have these now. So anyway, Neo-Morphosis. I backed this, and as an FYI, I backed it. So my own money. Pledge Manager is open. So if you were kind of hesitant on it or whatever, you can come get that now. And so there's that too. I don't know. I'm excited for this one, actually. I like the whole idea of managing the space station while there's alien invaders. I think that seems kind of cool. And I like the whole crafting gear, cobbling together and stuff like that. Cyber Odyssey was canceled. So if you didn't know, it was canceled. Managed to get about 40,000, right? So it was getting kind of close, 48. It was certainly getting there. Which is actually pretty impressive, I think. But I think they obviously wanted more out of it, and I cannot blame them. And a lot of issues happened, right? First of all, all of their stuff was in French when it first launched. They had 3,000 people back in this beforehand. They did say they'll be back in it. But anyway, and see, then it's just kind of the new thing here. They had the stretch goals up here, but they added this again much later. It was not in the first 2 days. Same with up here. So they definitely front loaded it, but it was after the fact, not before the fact, right? Especially with daily unlocks and stuff like that. That was all after the fact. So it's hard to see that. They also had a solo co-op expansion, that they had, but again, they didn't show that until later. And so, hey, look, who's that guy? I like that guy. And again, you need that value up front. You need to almost painfully show, look at all of our value. It makes sense to give me money early before you even have a product. There's rarely another time besides Kickstarter where I would give somebody $100, $300, $400 and then not expect something for over a year and be okay with that. That's a loan to a company at that point, right? That's an expensive pre-order, right? You don't got to do that with a Tesla. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. Only on Kickstarter. And so you want to build that trust. You want to be like, hey, we got you. We know that you're going to be out of money. It's not going to be in your bank account. It's not going to be an investment. It's going to be on us. You're going to be out for $100 with no product to show for it for a year. Here's everything that makes that worthwhile. That's what you need to do. You need to be upfront with it. Overload it with... It needs to be a good deal at the start. It needs to be a crazy deal at the end. That's how that works, right? It goes from, yeah, this is a great deal to, oh my gosh, this is a no-brainer, right? This didn't have 100 plus miniatures before. It didn't have all of this. It started with just a few that they unlocked in the pledge manager. I think these 3 here maybe. But it was still a good deal to begin with, enough to get it to where it started making it an even better deal. And now it's almost, again, like a no-brainer, right? Just kind of how that works. Moving on. We have Terraforming Mars. Okay, so I'll explain this picture. He's got a timer there to see how long it takes him to unbag all that. That is every single individual cube in Terraforming Mars individually wrapped in a Ziploc bag. That's not a joke. That's a legit thing. If you are getting your first round of copies of this, they're all like that. Now, the company came out and said, hey, this was not on purpose. We're as surprised as you are. We've contacted them. They've stopped that. So the more that they're making won't be like this. But everything they got on that ship is going to be like that. They said it was some miscommunication. Now, normally, a manufacturer, either you request it or they give you a white box copy. It's essentially like a final prototype where it doesn't have all the printing on it, but you get to see how things fit in the box and everything's kind of there. It'll have all the minis in there and it'll have cards. Normally it's just a card count with the same core and everything. It's not normally like the actual cards, so it could be. It really depends. I think each one's a little different, but normally it's a plain white box and you get to see it all there, right? So you get to kind of see how the thing looks like. Ideally, something like this was caught there. Maybe it wasn't. Like, I'm trying to think of how you could do this. And maybe they didn't wrap the cubes well enough. And so their feedback was something casually said like, hey, be sure to zip up all those cubes. What they meant was in one bag, each type or something like that. But they didn't specify. Maybe that's it. But the other problem is that, and this is like in lessons learned, right? I mean, I'm armchair quarterbacking here and hindsight 2020, right? It's like a double whammy of I have an unfair advantage here, but they're not creating in a void, right? There's a lot of companies that have done this now. And so it's a whole industry. And we all know how China can be when it comes to manufacturing. You can get pictures of them while they're doing the manufacturing. You can often ask them for video even, but you should have been able to see, hey, here's what we're about to ship out, where they show everything like that. And then I've caught it, hey, no, take all those out. Don't ship that yet. So keep that in the factory and then do that. Why the heck are you zip blocking every single cube? But obviously that didn't happen either. So there was a few missteps on the game developer's side, 100%. I can see it being an innocent mistake. I can see it being a mistake they will not make again. If that had been an unboxing of mine, that would have been something else, and you know it. You know it. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but you guys make me smile all the time. I love doing these videos for you guys. Don't get me wrong. Depression and sadness and melancholy and all that kind of crap tends to go away when I'm talking to you guys here. That's why I call you guys rock stars. I hope you guys know that. Anyway, that would have been hilarious. I cannot imagine if I had unboxed that and seen that. I don't even know how I would have reacted. I may have just fainted. I don't know. Moving on from that. Okay, great discussion. Let's discuss PVC and resin, and let's discuss the manufacturing process for both a little bit here. Just a little bit. Let me know if you would be interested in a video specifically talking about miniature manufacturing. I can totally do that if you want. I'm not exactly an expert in the field, but I feel like I've read enough, and I've seen enough, and I've watched enough, and I've talked enough to kind of know what I'm talking about here, at least at a moderate level. So, resin versus PVC. Let's go ahead and take a look at these, and let's look at this in detail. So they say here, master resin left, master right. What do they mean by master? First of all, let's talk about master. The master is not final production. Okay, the master is what makes the mold. It is the master mold. You can think of a mold as like an ice cube tray, right? And you fill in the water, or in this case plastic, and it makes the shape that you have the well in, right? And so what they do is they get typically a steel plate, and they're about like that-ish, and they normally have a whole bunch like stacked in. But it could be copper. You can use other metals typically. Or in resin's case, silicone. I'll explain that a little bit too. But you have a top half and a bottom half, and you wedge it down, kind of like the lid of an ice cube tray, I guess you could say. Or something you make out of Play-Doh. You have that little seashell impression, you press down on it. Well, if that's a flat part and then the seashell, but if you had two seashells and you put them together, then you would have a full seashell one, right? That's kind of the same thing here. That's why you can't have the negative space, because just like you can't have a hole in your ice cube. You could have a straight hole, but you couldn't have a hole surrounded by that, right? Because it'd have to come in from somewhere. It can't float in there per se, if that makes sense. So if I'm doing this and you fill it in, it's just going to fill in all of this, right? You can't have space here. This has to be separate. So anyway, you have the mold, and then you inject the plastic in it, and it runs through these like rivers or these channels into the different pieces. So oftentimes it's like the base and then the mini, and then another part of the mini, maybe an arm here or a weapon or something like that. And it'll kind of be splayed out like that. Kind of like a sprue, if you've seen a sprue of plastic. Very similar. So that's what they do, okay? That's what the master does that impression, right? It does the impression of it in that. That's where they tool it to. And then they tool it because it needs to be changed. It's like, okay, do you lay it this way? Do you lay it this way? Do you lay it this way? Do you lay it that way? Do you separate these parts out? Like, there's a lot of tooling involved, typically multiple rounds of tooling, but that's how they do it. So these masters are the impression that you'll get. Now, all plastic shrinks. That's just what it does when it's hot and liquid. When it cools down and cures and hardens, it'll shrink. Okay. Now, we're talking like lower single digit percentage here. It's typically not a lot, but every resin or every plastic is different. Okay. We say PVC and ABS and resin, but they actually all are different. Like every manufacturer uses a different plastic, and normally they have different plastics, though it's all PVC. They will actually refer to them. You can actually get a chemical compound name, right? It's like, it's this mix. And ABS and PVC are made in the same way in these steel molds, so you can actually even mix those together. A lot of minis these days have an ABS PVC mix. The difference between them is, I guess, how hard it is, right? So PVC is the softest, and then there's ABS, and then there's HIPS, and then there's resin. And HIPS, again, stands for how they actually make the plastic as well. But anyway, and the harder it is, the better detail and crispness it has, and the more sturdy it is. Though you can get so hard that you become brittle, right? And that's the problem with resin. It's very hard. It keeps very crisp details, but it's also very brittle. It doesn't really bend. It just kind of breaks, right? Whereas a PVC, you can typically bend that sword, right, completely. And so it's a lot better for something like a board game because you're moving it around. So you kind of have to, you could just go full ham on the hardness, but then you have a very brittle mini. So you kind of have to find the perfect mix. And typically something like anywhere from a harder PVC to HIPS is where you kind of want to be when it comes to robustness of the piece and crispness of the detail. Okay, so with all that said, when you see stuff like this is the resin, or this is the resin, sorry, this is the PVC. See how the ears are thicker here? Again, it's thicker there for several reasons. First of all, there will be some shrinkage, right? But also because if it was super skinny like that, it could not really capture the detail here because of that shrinkage. Same reason why the design, like on her outfit here, is thicker, because they you essentially exaggerate features on purpose, accommodating for that shrinkage. So if you know it's going to shrink about 5% or whatever it might be, then you'll just make everything about 5% thicker so when it shrinks down it's the right size. So sometimes when you see renders or something like that, if the render looks perfect, you almost want the render to look a little bit off. Like you want those chains on a miniature, interlocking chain, to look a little bit fat, right? Just a little bit, because it's going to shrink down a little bit and it'll look perfect in the final mini. So same thing here, right? They don't want ridges that big on her armor, but it'll shrink down, it'll shallow out a little bit. And part of that helps it release the mold, right? Because it kind of shrinks in there. So when they release the mold, it's right there. Resin, by the way, is in a silicone mold, especially hand-poured silicone. So it's a much softer thing. And one of the reasons resin's so expensive is because of silicone molds that get damaged over time. If you recall the Melted Soldier, that was because of a damaged steel plate. You can typically make thousands and thousands and thousands of miniatures out of a steel one before it deteriorates too much to where you'd have to make a new one. Silicone, it's a couple hundred, and it just kind of depends. It can change. It depends on the sculpt. It depends on the silicone and the mold, and just it's an art form. It really is. Even the plastic injection part is, how hot do you do it? How much do you let it cool down? Do you use brass or something like that, or like what material do you use so that, because if you think about it, the steel mold's going to get hot too, right? So you have to let that cool down, because if you inject it too much sooner, if you're in a hurry or whatever, or you're not accommodating for it, it's kind of like reusing the toaster, right? You put your bread in and you put it in for 4, and that works as long as it's from room temperature. But if you then take that out and put another one back in for 4, that's going to overcook, right? Because it's hot in there already, and it's going to get hotter. Same kind of thing there. There's a lot involved here. They changed his arms here too. You'll see he's a little bit flatter. I talk about a flat X-plane mini, and that's what I mean by that. So if you think about your ice cube tray, if something is thicker than the ice cube tray, you can't do that, right? But if you just angle it a little bit up so it's a little bit flatter in there, then suddenly the depth isn't as much and you can actually put it in the steel mold. You can't go thicker than the steel mold. You can't even go thicker than the walls of it, right? There's only so much you can actually put in those steel molds, and they come in different sizes and stuff like that. But that's why you'll see it kind of lifted up there. So it's just a little bit flatter in there. If it was here, what you would have to do is, because you can't just do big old wells for arms, put it in there, right? And you can't put them sideways because your shoulders are wide and he'd be too wide that way. And so what you end up doing is making it separate pieces, and then you'd have to glue it back on. You have to pay for the assembly to do that. And on top of that, now you have a little line here on his arm. So a lot of times with armor, you can get away with it. On an undead guy, not so much. So they just lift his arms a little bit there. There's a lot more I could talk about there, right? But they're kind of showing you that. But now you know it, when they say master, what they mean and why. Like, if you think about it, this almost looks kind of better a little bit, but it's because, like, there's lighting and stuff like that too. But you'll see the fingers and all that. And it's because, again, those fingers are going to shrink in the PVC. And when they shrink, they're going to get so freaking skinny that you either have to do fat hands or you have to do a very premium, ABS only, or even a hip, something like that can do something like fingers and not break or bend or warp or get messed up in some kind. You'll see they thickened that as well. You'll typically see things thickened, and that's exactly why. So anyway, here's the gray version, but it's showing the same thing. So anyway, just wanted to talk about that. I figured educating you guys is the whole point of this whole series, so that consumers are making the best decision for themselves because they know everything there is to know about it. Next up, we have an email. Okay, so this is actually a 3D printable mini with a it's attached to like a D&D style kind of thing, right? So this is coming on May 18th for you guys. It's Numenera or Numenera or whatever. Reveries of the Ninth Ward. It's 3D printable minis. They look super freaking cool though. Like really, really interesting designs. But they're all part of what is it? I think it's down here. Draco Gaming. I know they said it. Anyway, it's all part of an actual. Well, maybe this is up here. The RPG. Yeah. So it's miniatures for the world-winning RPG Numenera or whatever. There, it's in the name. Anyway, so if you play that RPG, this is obviously something you'd be interested in. If you just want some crazy-looking freaking minis, this is definitely your game too. Like, they look weird. There's some weird freaking animals in this place. Also, they have some great minis that might even work for a game like Bloodborne or something like that. I've seen a little bit more than even what they're showing here. It's interesting. This guy here, by the way, super long. Like that long guy in Bloodborne. Again, that's what it reminded me of. Some very cool minis there. So that'll be coming out here soon as well. We're almost done here. Let's talk about what Lucky Duck Games is doing. I don't know, some other mobile game stuff. And then what they do. Yeah, so they've just been teasing with art. I know nothing about gameplay, but something's coming in the summer because from them. They'll be having some. It's definitely quick, right? Because they have their Kingdom Rush thing that just ended, and now in a couple months they'll have a new campaign. So they're definitely moving fast. Well, we'll keep an eye on that as a community. We will. We'll keep them in check. Okay, Tanares. I don't know why it reload. I hate when Chrome does that. It's dumb. Anyway, I want to talk to you about Tanares RPG. Really, it's coming out in August. Wherever it says August, right there. So we'll be coming out in August. It does have new stuff. There's a cool freaking dragon there. There's the new Dragonblade Elementalist, Madwalker, and Redeemer classes. So even if you're not into the RPG stuff and you just want another class for your skirmish game, looks like they'll have something for you. That being said, it looks freaking cool too. So definitely we'll be looking at that. Definitely a cool system. Lastly, Harakiri Blades of Honor. I haven't talked about this in a while. Our good friend Tom He is on the channel every so often and graces us with his presence, but he's also busy helping out pretty much any company he cares about really do some cool stuff like this. So I'm going to link to this down below, but if you... Dude, this is 100% freaking Scorpion. If you guys have not seen the Mortal Kombat movie, first of all, it's actually pretty good. You should go see it. I actually enjoyed it. Not nearly as cheesy as I thought it was. It's not like award-winning, but it was entertaining. I had fun. That's 100% freaking Scorpion there. Anyway, I can't unsee that. He tells you about all sorts of stuff. So we go here, and again, he has all this info about like strategies and different things that'll happen when you're dealing with them and all that. Definitely a good read. That'll be linked down below along with everything else. So you can feel free to check all that out. A ton of info here and a ton being shown off as well. So very cool that he did that for everyone so that we can all benefit from it. And it gives me an excuse to talk about a cool looking game on top of that. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I had. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope I do too. Again, it's gonna be my anniversary, so I'm sure I'll have a good time. But yeah, I just gotta keep on working on stuff and get some more stuff out to you guys for sure. So hope you appreciate the time put into this, and I hope it helped you out. If there's anything I missed, share with everyone, not just me, but gladly share with me as well, and I can update my links. I can take a look at things. I'd love to hear from you guys. Either way, have a great rest of your day, as I said before, and I'll talk to you guys again really, really soon. I'll have another video out real soon. And if nothing else, again, hopefully that Tuesday review, right? We'll see. Well, I'll try. All right, take care, guys.